The space station was quiet. Cade, a human engineer, stood outside Dock 14, working on a broken power line. His hands were dirty with black dust, and sparks flew as he tightened a loose bolt. Around him, the station floated in silence, circling, a small cold planet named Therine. It was just another job: fix a station, get paid, move to the next one. Cade liked it that way. No questions, no drama. But then, he heard a soft voice behind him. Cade. He froze. Nobody here knew his name. He turned slowly. A cloaked figure stood in the shadows of the corridor. Tall. Slim. Her skin was a soft silver blue, her eyes glowing faintly like stars. Her face was half hidden by her hood. But her voice, it sounded like it came from somewhere familiar. Cade narrowed his eyes. Do I know you? The woman stepped closer, slowly. You don't remember me, she said softly. But I remember everything. He looked confused. You must be mistaking me for someone else. She shook her head. Then she said something that made his heart skip. I named our child after you, human. Cade felt like someone had punched him in the chest. What did you say? He whispered. The woman took off her hood. Her face was beautiful, with soft markings under her eyes and thin, long hair that shimmered like water. She looked at him, not with anger or fear, but with deep, painful sadness. I carried your child, she said again. You saved me once. You gave me hope when I had nothing. And when you disappeared, I still held on to your name. Cade shook his head. No, I've never been here before. I've never met your kind. She stepped closer. You were here 5 years ago. You crashed. You lost your team. I found you. We hid in the mines during the storm. We shared nights together. You promised you'd return. Cade stared at her. He had no memory of this. But there was something in her eyes, something honest. What's your name? He asked. Leora. The name rang faintly in his mind like a dream. Still, he frowned. I don't remember you. I know, she said. They made you forget. They sat on a bench near the edge of the docking bay. Leora spoke slowly. She told him about a secret mission that went wrong. A storm that hit hard. A human soldier, Cade, injured and alone, hiding in the ruins of an old research outpost. How she found him, how they became close, how he saved her from bounty hunters, how he told her about Earth, about stars, about the meaning of his name, and then how he vanished one morning. No goodbye, no trail, just gone. I thought you were dead, she whispered, but months later I gave birth to our son. He has your eyes. Cade stared at the floor. His hands trembled. I've never had a memory wiped. Are you sure? She asked gently. He opened his mouth and closed it again. He wasn't sure. There were gaps. Blank months in his old logs. A time when he woke up in a hospital ship, burn marks on his back. No one ever explained why. Where's the child? He asked suddenly. Leora's lips trembled. Safe, hidden. I want to see him. She nodded slowly. But you must promise, you won't run again. Before she left, she placed something in his hand. A small silver disc. A memory chip. This holds part of the truth, she said. I saved it from the crash. I think it might help you remember. He held it tightly. What if I open it and still feel nothing? He asked. Then I will still be grateful, she replied, because you once saved me, and I have saved your name in my heart. Then she turned, walked into the shadows, and disappeared. Cade sat alone after that. The stars outside blinked quietly. He looked down at the chip in his palm. He had a choice now. He could throw it away, or he could open the door to a past he never knew he had, and somewhere out there, a child with his name was waiting. The path through the lower sector of the station was dark and quiet. Cade followed Leora silently. Every step he took felt heavier than the last. He wasn't sure if he was walking toward the truth, or or toward something that would break him. He still didn't remember her, but something inside him wanted to believe her. Leora stopped in front of a locked door. "This place is not safe," she said, "but I hid him here because no one dares to come this far down." She placed her palm on the scanner. The door creaked open. Inside was a small room, lit by a single lamp. A thin blanket hung from the ceiling like a curtain. A few toys, strange alien shapes, lay scattered on the floor. And then, a small voice whispered, "Mama?" Cade froze. A child peeked from behind the curtain. He was small, no more than 4 or 5 years old. His skin was a pale gray blue, but his eyes, they were human, not just human. They looked exactly like Cade's. Wide, deep brown, familiar. The boy stepped out slowly, barefoot, holding a stuffed creature. He looked at Cade, and then he smiled. "Papa?" Cade's breath caught. He wanted to say something, but no words came. Leora knelt beside the child. "This is Cade, the one I told you about." The boy blinked and tilted his head. "He looks tired." Cade let out a shaky laugh. "He's not wrong." Leora smiled softly. "His name is Kale." Cade slowly crouched. "Kale." The boy stepped closer and touched Cade's face with tiny fingers. "Mama says you flew from the sky, like the storybooks." "I don't remember," Cade admitted, "but I believe I did." "Will you fly with me someday?" Cade nodded, though his chest tightened with emotion. "Someday. I promise." Kale looked happy at the answer, then ran off to play with the toy ship near the wall. Leora poured some warm liquid into a cracked cup and handed it to Cade. "I didn't want you to meet him like this. How did you even survive after I disappeared?" Cade asked. "Barely. I hid. I begged. I sold what little I had. But I always protected him." She looked at the boy. "He's strong. Like you." Cade shook his head. "I don't even know who I am anymore." "You're his father," she whispered. "Even if your memories were stolen." Cade stared at the steaming cup. "I still don't understand. Why erase my memory? Who did it? Why not tell me before?" Leora hesitated, then said, "Because someone wanted to erase you from both our lives. Forever." Later that night, Kale fell asleep, curled in his mother's arms. Cade sat near the door, staring at the small silver chip Leora had given him earlier. It pulsed faintly with blue light. He took out his old data reader and connected it. The device flickered, glitched, and then played. A short video began to play, cracked and static-filled. He saw himself, dirty, wounded, lying next to Leora in an old cave shelter. She was pregnant, crying, and he was holding her hand, saying, "I'll keep you safe no matter what. Even if I have to forget, I want you to remember me." The clip ended. Cade dropped the reader. His hands were shaking. He had said those words. He had chosen to forget. But why? Leora came to him quietly. "You remember a little now, don't you?" Cade nodded slowly. "Why did I say I would forget you?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Because they gave you a choice. Either return to your fleet and wipe your memory to protect us, or stay here and die." Cade's heart pounded. He remembered now. Pieces of it. He had been declared missing in action. But before that, his captain gave him an option. Return home, but erase the whole event. His love. His child. His promise. All of it. He had chosen to live so they could. "I abandoned you," Cade said softly. "No," Leora replied. "You gave us a chance to live. That was not abandonment. That was sacrifice." Cade looked at the sleeping child. He remembered that face now, just barely. His newborn son. He remembered naming him Kale, with an E, short for eternal. A single tear rolled down his cheek. Why now? he asked. Why find me? After all this time? Leora looked at him with sad eyes. Because they found out he's alive. And now, they're coming. Cade stiffened. Who? Those who ordered the memory wipe. Those who fear what a human and alien child might become. Her voice was firm. They want to erase him too. The stars outside the window blinked like silent watchers. Cade sat in the corner of the small room, staring at the broken memory reader. The short video had changed everything. He had once loved Leora. He had made a promise. He had become a father, and then he gave it all up to protect them. His memory wasn't stolen. He gave it away. Leora stood nearby, packing supplies quickly. Her long fingers moved fast, but her face stayed calm. Too calm. We have to leave before sunrise, she said. Where will we go? To a planet they erased from maps. It's called Karos 5. Cade raised a brow. That world was wiped, out during the plasma wars. That's what they want you to think, she said. It's where the rest of my people, those who rebelled, now hide. It's also where you left the full memory chip. Cade blinked. There's more? Yes. You recorded everything there before your return to the human fleet. You said, if anything ever happened to you, I should take our son back to that place. He felt his pulse rise. Then that's where we go. They boarded a stolen skimmer. Small, fast, and unregistered. Kyle sat between them, humming a tune and playing, with a dented toy ship. Cade couldn't stop looking at the boy, his own son. He had his eyes, and his stubborn chin. But more than that, Cale smiled like Leora, soft, brave, and pure. As they slipped into space, Cade leaned back. Why did I choose Karos 5? He asked. Because you said even the stars forget sometimes, but buried planets don't. She handed him a black box, metal, old, but well protected. This was the chip's second half, she said. I kept it safe. You trusted me. Cade opened it slowly. Inside was a glowing shard, not just data, but living memory, an ancient alien tech that recorded emotion, sound, and sensation. Cade connected it to his neural port. The stars blurred. Suddenly, he was there again. Snow, falling, a red mountain. He saw himself running, holding Leora's hand, ducking under broken rocks, hiding from ships overhead. He felt fear, but also love. The way her hand gripped his, the way her voice said his name like it was everything. Then, the child. Tiny, newborn, weak. Cade had kissed his forehead and whispered, I'll give up everything, just to let you live. Then came the offer, the fleet's mind wipe contract. He had stared at the paper, signed it, and turned away from everything. Cade came back from the vision, gasping. He looked at Leora. I loved you. She nodded, eyes wet. You still do. You just forgot, and I made them erase it. You saved us, Cade. He looked at Cale. The boy had fallen asleep in his seat, a blanket around him. I'm going to protect him this time. I'm not going to forget again. Leora leaned her head on his shoulder. Then let's get home, to the place where it all began. As they approached Karos 5, dark clouds rolled over the surface. The planet wasn't dead, but it hid in shadows. Veins of green light pulsed from cracks in the mountains. Old towers stood like ghosts. This used to be a royal planet, Leora whispered. My people destroyed it during the war, but the rebels made it their shelter. They landed near a temple covered in moss and vines. Cade stepped out and felt a strange sensation, like the planet remembered him. Leora took his hand. Your memories are buried here, but so is the truth. Inside the temple, they found the old vault. It opened at Cade's touch. He stepped in slowly, heart pounding. A recording began to play. His own voice echoed through the chamber. To whoever finds this, if you are me, then remember, she was worth it. The child was worth it. They'll tell you to forget, But don't. Then a hollow image flickered to life. Leora holding newborn Kale, Cade laughing, tears on his cheeks. The final words, "Even if I lose myself, I'll find my way back to you." Cade stepped out, tears falling. He looked at Kale, awake now, standing, with wide eyes. "Are you okay, Papa?" Cade knelt and hugged him tight. "I remember now," he whispered. "I remember everything." But before they could celebrate, the sky darkened. Leora's face turned pale. "They found us." Above, ships began to descend. The same people who wiped Cade's mind were coming again. Only this time, he was ready. The sky above Karos 5 turned red. Not from sunlight, but from the heat trails of 3 warships entering the atmosphere. "They're not scouts," Cade said, tightening his grip on the blaster. "They came to finish this." Leora pulled Kale behind a fallen pillar inside the ruined temple. Her eyes glowed softly in the dim light. "These are memory enforcers. Their job is to erase the truth, and those who remember it." Cade looked up at the sky. "Then they've come for the wrong people." The temple trembled as the ships landed. Dust fell from the high ceiling. The air grew thick, like it was holding its breath. Kale clutched his mother's hand, whispering, "Are they going to take us away?" Leora knelt beside him. "Not if we stand together." Cade turned and knelt beside them. "I once ran away to protect you both," he said. "Not this time." Heavy footsteps echoed through the hall. A voice, metallic and sharp, called out, "Cade Mercer of Earth. You have broken Fleet Memory Protocol 47B. Step forward for reprocessing." Cade stepped into the open. The leader of the enforcers was tall, armored in smooth black plates, a glowing insignia on his chest. His eyes were not real, just bright white circles inside a metal face. "I remember now," Cade said firmly. "You can't take that from me again." "You chose forgetfulness," the enforcer replied coldly. "You signed. You obeyed. Now you disobey." "And I would do it again." The enforcer raised a hand. Energy built around his arm. A red beam gathering heat. But before he could fire, a blast from the temple wall knocked him back. Boom! Stone flew everywhere. From the shadows stepped a tall figure in rebel armor. "Half alien, half machine," Leora gasped. "That's a Corosian Guardian." The Guardian turned toward them. "You summoned old memories. The planet remembers you, human. Now we protect what you once protected." The battle began. Blaster fire lit up the temple's broken arches. Cade grabbed Kale and ran for cover as Leora hurled a small energy bomb toward the second enforcer. It exploded in blue light, sending the enemy crashing into rubble. The Guardian moved like a storm, one moment blocking fire, the next striking with raw plasma energy. Cade fired at the third enforcer, who tried to circle around them. "You gave up your memory once," the enforcer shouted. "Now you'll lose your family," Cade growled. "Not this time." One perfect shot. The enforcer's core shattered. After a long, burning silence, only smoke remained. The enforcers were down. The air smelled like fire and ash. Kale peeked out from under a fallen stone. "Is it over?" Leora helped him up, brushing dust from his face. "For now." Cade walked toward the Guardian. "Why help us?" he asked. The Guardian's voice was low. "Because you came back. Because you remembered. No one returns to Karos 5 by accident. Only those with heart find the path again." Cade nodded slowly. "I made a mistake, giving up the people I loved. But I won't make it twice." That night, they lit a small fire in the ancient garden behind the temple. Kale sat between them, drawing stars in the dust with his finger. Cade looked at the flames. "Now what?" he asked Leora. "We hide no longer," she said. "We rebuild. And if the humans send more?" She smiled sadly. "Then we remind them that not all humans forget." The Guardian brought a scroll carved in crystal. It had human and alien symbols side by side. "This is the original memory pact," he said. "The truth you tried to record before they wiped you." He handed it to Cade. "You can now choose again. Forget or fight." Cade didn't hesitate. I choose to fight. For my family. For our son. For the truth. From the trees, more Corosians arrived, some wounded, some afraid. But when they saw the human holding the pact beside his alien mate and son, they bowed, a symbol of new hope. The child with human eyes, and the man who finally remembered. Wind howled through the old trees of HFY. Beneath the stars, the temple's fire still burned. And so did something inside Cade's chest. Purpose. He was no longer just a soldier. He was no longer just a man trying to remember. Now, he was something more. A father, a fighter, and the chosen bearer of the pact. Kyle sat on a rock beside the guardian, eyes wide as the ancient being drew maps in the dirt. These were the old stars, the guardian said. Long before Earth joined the Galactic Council, your father placed a mark here. He pointed to a red star near the edge of the map. Kyle blinked. Papa drew that? Yes. When he first came here, running from his commanders, he said this. Place should be a home for those like him, those who chose love over orders. Kale smiled proudly. Cade sat with Leora in a quiet corner of the temple ruins. The crystal scroll, the memory pact, lay between them, glowing gently. It has your voice on it, Leora said softly. Your words, not the fleet's. Yours. I was a different man when I recorded that, Cade murmured. No, she said. You were truly yourself. That's why they wanted it erased. He looked down at Kale playing near the roots of a giant tree. He deserves to grow up without fear. Leora nodded. And others like him will need a place too. Cade's fingers curled around the scroll. Then we make this planet a sanctuary, a place where memory lives. Suddenly footsteps approached. An elder alien woman stepped from the shadows, her body thin, her horns cracked by age, but her eyes full of knowledge. I am Sura, she said. Caretaker of the Blood Archive. Cade stood. The what? She gestured for them to follow. Inside a hidden tunnel, glowing with vines and soft light, she led them deep into the earth. Finally, they entered a great chamber, its walls covered in carvings of humans and aliens standing together. This is where we kept the blood, Sura whispered. Not in violence, but in legacy. Every being who chose love over war is remembered here. She walked to a pedestal and placed her palm on it. A swirl of lights lifted into the air. Among the faces was Cade's. He gasped. How? You were remembered even when you forgot, Sura said. The pact you made was written in the blood of choice. It cannot be erased. Leora placed her hand in Cade's. Kale looked up at both of them. What's happening? We're going to start something new, Cade said. He stepped forward and placed the scroll on the pedestal. A soft hum filled the chamber. The walls lit up with new carvings, Kale's face appearing among them. Then, a symbol formed above the scroll, a star bound by a ring of thorns. What does it mean? Cade asked. Sura smiled. It means your line, the child born from memory and mercy, is now written into the archive of stars and blood, a living legacy. Leora touched her stomach and whispered something in her language. Cade raised an eyebrow. What did you say? She smiled faintly. That we're not just 3 anymore. His eyes widened. You mean? She nodded. You're going to be a father again. Cade sat down, stunned. Another child. Another future. But this time, no memory would be lost. No love erased. No truth hidden. Outside, the Guardian and other rebels began preparing the temple for more arrivals. Word had spread across secret channels that the human who remembered had returned, and that he brought the scroll with him. Refugees, hybrids, forgotten aliens, all now looked to HFY, not just as a place to hide, but a place to begin again, and in the heart of it stood Cade, the man who once signed away his memories, now chosen to protect the memories of others. The stars were no longer still. They moved now, angrily. Across the galaxy, news of the human, who remembered had reached ears that preferred silence. The Galactic Fleet Council saw Cade's return not as a miracle, but as a threat. Aboard the command ship Orion's Fist, Admiral Dron slammed his hand on the screen. "You said Mercer was erased," a nervous officer stammered. "He was, sir. Neural wipes were complete. His service record was deleted." "Then why is his name written across rebel channels? Why do outcasts chant his name like some savior?" Another officer whispered. "They're calling him the Remembered Human." Dron's jaw tightened. "Send the Enforcer Legion. Burn Karos 5 to ash, and bring me Mercer's body." On Karos 5, peace was short-lived. Cade stood at the edge of the rebel temple, watching as more ships arrived. Not enemies yet, but refugees, alien mothers, hybrid children, broken warriors. Each carried scars, each brought stories, and each had one question. Is it true a human gave up everything for us? Cade never knew what to say, so he simply nodded. Leora joined him, her hand resting on her growing belly. "Our world is changing again," she said, "or returning to what it was supposed to be," he replied. Kyle stood between them, watching the stars nervously. "Why are they moving?" the boy asked. Cade squinted. "Ships, dozens of them, coming fast." "They're here," he whispered. The rebels gathered quickly. The Guardian stepped forward, holding a long plasma staff. "Let the pact be our shield." Sura, the ancient caretaker, raised the scroll and lit the archive signal. A beam of light shot into the sky, a symbol of memory, mercy, and resistance. The war began with thunder. Fleet warships rained fire on the upper forests of Karos 5, targeting supply lines and rebel outposts, but the rebels were ready. Cade led a team through the canyons, using old tunnels he once helped map when he first hid on the planet. Leora stayed back with Sura and the children, organizing medical care and supplies. Kale wanted to fight, but Cade told him, "Your time will come. For now, protect your mother." The boy nodded, holding a small staff the Guardian had given him. In the heart of battle, Cade met Admiral Dron face to face. Inside a shattered vault of the temple, the two men stood across from one another. "You should have stayed forgotten," Dron hissed. "And you should have remembered," Cade growled back. "What it means to fight for something bigger than yourself." They clashed. Sparks flew, steel hit stone. Cade was not as strong, but he had something Dron didn't. A purpose. With one well-timed strike, Cade brought the commander down, but Dron activated a signal before falling. A planet burner countdown began on the flagship above. Back at the rebel base, alarms blared. "They're going to destroy the whole planet," Sura gasped. Leora's eyes widened. "No, not again. Not when we just started to hope." Kale grabbed his staff. "We have to stop them." Cade raced back through smoke and fire, reaching the ancient communication tower. "I have one last chance," he said to the Guardian. "If I send a message using the scroll's energy, every hidden rebel world will see. Maybe, just maybe, they'll rise. But it will cost you," the Guardian warned. "The scroll is tied to your bloodline now. If you send it, your life might burn with it." Cade looked at Leora, at Kyle, at the unborn child she carried, then nodded. "Let them live free. That's worth the price." He stepped into the beam, raised the scroll, and spoke. "My name is Cade Mercer. I was made to forget, but I chose to remember, not just my family, but all of you. Your pain, your stories. You are not lost. You are not forgotten. Stand, rise, fight for memory." The beam pulsed across the stars. Across dozens of systems, rebels looked up, and the symbol appeared. A human hand, holding a star, wrapped in memory. Fleet ships began to fall back. Something had changed. Something they couldn't erase this time. Cade collapsed. Leora caught him. "You stayed," she whispered, tears falling. He smiled faintly. "I remembered everything. The war ended, Not with a final blast, but with a signal that reached hearts. Across rebel worlds, outcasts and hybrids raised their eyes to the night sky. There, shining brighter than before, was a single golden star, newly charted, newly named. Mercer's Light. Leora stood on the temple steps, Kale holding her hand. Behind them, refugees rebuilt the stone halls into homes. Gardens bloomed where ashes once lay. Children played under wide alien trees, and, at the center of it all, a statue was being carved from white Corosian stone. It was Cade, one hand holding the ancient scroll, the other resting on a small boy's shoulder. "He really saved everyone?" Kale asked, looking up at the half-finished statue. Leora smiled gently, brushing a lock of hair from her son's face. "He didn't save the galaxy, Kale. He reminded it. He brought memory back when others tried to erase it." She paused. "And that's harder than any war." In a nearby chamber, the scroll rested, cracked from the energy it released, but still glowing faintly. Sura, the elder, placed her hand on it every morning and whispered, "Let those who forget find their way again." Cade had not died that day, but he had changed. His body lay in deep rest, suspended within the life waters of the archive. His pulse faint, his mind drifting through ancient memories of every alien he had helped, every vow he had made. Some called it a coma, others called it a living memory state, but Leora called it something else. The dream between stars. Years passed, and the world of Keros 5 bloomed. It became a refuge for all who had been erased, hunted, or silenced. No one asked where you were from, only what you remembered. Kale grew older. He trained with the Guardian, studied with Sura, and became known as the Son of the Pact. On his 15th cycle, he stood before the archive and placed his own hand on the pedestal. "I am Kale Mercer," he said, "child of memory. I choose to protect this world, just like my father." The walls glowed once more, and beside Cade's glowing image, another one appeared, Kale's. But that night, something changed. The scroll pulsed, softly, then brighter. Leora ran to the chamber. She placed her hand on the glass of the stasis tank. Inside, Cade's fingers twitched, his eyes opened. "Leora," he whispered. She gasped. "Cade, you're awake?" "I saw everything. I felt everything," he said weakly. "The stars, our children, the voices of those who needed us." He touched the glass. "Did we win?" She smiled through tears. "We remembered. That was the victory." Cade stepped out of the chamber days later, weak but standing. The world had changed, but so had he. He was not just a soldier anymore. He was a symbol, a living legend. At the naming ceremony of the new capital city, Kyle stood beside his father. "We will name this place," the boy announced, "not after war or blood or species." He looked up at Cade, but after the one who remembered when it mattered most. He raised a crystal plaque that read, "Merceria, the city of memory." In the crowd, humans and aliens alike cheered. Some wept. Some simply placed a hand over their hearts. The story of Cade Mercer had traveled far, but now it had become more than just a story. It had become a legacy. At night, Cade sat with Leora under the tree where he first held Kale. He looked up at the sky. There it was, a bright golden star. "Mercer's Light," Leora whispered. "They really named a star after me?" he asked, smiling. "No," she said. "They named it after who you became." He kissed her hand. "And what about the child inside you? What should we name this one?" She leaned her head on his shoulder. "How about Hope?" The star above flickered, as if agreeing.